The restoration of innocence is the foundation of immortality. Innocence being the transmutation of lust and the common erotic impulses into mystical fortitude, vigilance, and inner regeneration, what I call self-fertilization. Lust may be elevated towards creative genius and reverse physical degeneration towards spiritual regeneration. The heart struggles to keep light at the helm and darkness at its behest. Light and dark converge in the human heart. Sin, specifically of the erotic nature, turns the heart from a haven into a brothel. When Adam, the solar, and Eve, the lunar, are separated from each other after the fall from original divine union into human exile, the outer world becomes a point of fixation in which we project our opposite into the world and search in sorrow for union. A union which actually began inside of us. This union was broken in two and projected out into the world as we grew up. When the projected Adam or Eve of the self is rescued from the outer world, then paradise will be restored, and the confused puzzle of the heart is solved and liberated from its sorrow and longing. This is not human union, but mystical union. Innocence sows the seed of the androgynous Immaculate Conception. When the two return in union, the serpent once again bites its own tail. This is the fertilization and conception of the mystery of immortality. The new heart is now the drum of Shiva, the pulse of the universe, the spring of new life, pumping the blood of gods through the holy temple. This ambrosia, the nectar of the gods, salves or saves the first eye, the hidden lens of Gnosis, the true fire of sight, awakened by the Sophian kiss. The immortality attained through conception in the heart is not merely a physical longevity, although there is a natural extension of physical well-being. The immortalization is really a tincturing of the metaphysical soul into a finer atmospheric quality. In other words, the environment manifested by the reunion of Adam and Eve turns water, the base soul, into wine, the purified soul, which makes the exit point of the soul a vertical release upward into the realm of pure spirit, instead of a horizontal release back onto the worldly stage of samsara, the endless cycle of rebirth. The pure of heart shall see God. Those who balance and protect the light and dark within themselves also secure their ascent into the fullness. The light and dark, the sun and the moon, are each a wing that makes ascending this world possible. You cannot fly with one wing attached and the other lost in the outer world. Both Adam and Eve must return to each other in union. Together they are the two wings of Sophia, the fallen serpent destined to reach the crown of nature, the crest of heaven. The further the two stray from each other, the more desperate, darker and graver our desires and perceptions of self and the world become. We lose the triune eye, the unified vision of reality. By bringing the two extremes back into union, we manifest the solar eye, the first eye of Gnosis, which catalyzes the birth of the hero, the winged serpent, capable of both ascent and descent, through both sky and abyss, and ultimately release from all limitation and illusion. The return to innocence perfects and raises the fertile waters of life into the higher atmosphere of human consciousness. When this mystical baptism occurs, the first eye of Gnosis, the solar eye, will be liberated from sleep, and will upon intellection, contemplation and meditation begin to vibrate and unfold within, transmuting the blood and the vital nature of the entire body into a temple of light. So long as the solar eye is awake, the lunar eye will be sleeping, operating in the background, gathering and channeling the powers and forces of nature towards the solar eye, in service of higher destiny. If we fall prey to temptation, false desires and corruption, and give in to such pressures, then the lunar nature will become abruptly conscious and blind the solar eye of its light and vision. The lunar eye cannot see reality. It is an eye of fantasy and illusion. If the higher nature is not being fed by the lower, subdued nature, then the lower will hog and waste away all life force through sin and delusion. This is the trial braved by all the saints and the mystics who reach the apex of nature. The so-called devil is anything that seeks to blind the solar eye and keep us slaves to the lunar nature. Humanity at large is under the rule of the lunar nature, and thus we are only half awake, sleepwalkers, without a solar star to guide. A secret that few realize is that salvation is automatic and is an inevitable process in everyone. But so long as the lunar eye is conscious, then the process is always interrupted and ruined by false desires that halt the serpent's ascent towards the apex, and we unknowingly banish it back down into oblivion, which on the surface leaves us feeling lost, misguided, and sorrowful. The very serpent that deceives from the mud, the roots, must ultimately be raised into the palace of the skull, the Most High. The Egyptian pharaohs were adorned with the Uraeus serpent on their head, revealing the salvific nature of the redeemed serpent after we have conquered its trials and temptations. The same is revealed through the Jewish prophet Moses, raising the brazen serpent from the ground up upon the cross in the wilderness. The serpent must be raised upwards to gain its wings, to soar into the heavens, resurrected as a pleromic dragon. The serpent leads us either to salvation or damnation, to reality or oblivion. This is the eternal struggle against the solar and the lunar, and the quest for union. Turning away from the false light is the first step of salvation. Cultivating innocence is the key that opens up all the doors of higher reality. Without innocence, we cannot maintain the vigilance and clarity that protects us against the lunar influence, feeding on our wandering, boredom, and ignorance. If the mystical forces are burnt up and wasted through false desire and self-deception, the mind becomes weak, tainted, uneasy, afraid, and incapable of seeing a greater path. The fruits of salvation are self-realization, regeneration, angelification, and immortality. It's clear to me that the deepest and most uncorrupt teachings of the mystics and saints were the secrets of self-fertilization via innocence, and the biomystical alchemy of salvation and liberation. Opening the first eye of Gnosis means closing the last eye of agnosis. This is the secret no-hand path that leads back to ultimate reality.